Tonight, I want to share with you a story that has haunted the internet for decades. A story about children, but not the kind you'd ever want to meet. They're called the Black-Eyed Children. These stories are not works of fiction. They come from real accounts, real people who swore they saw something unnatural. Let's begin with one of the earliest and perhaps most famous encounters, the story of Brian Bethel in Abilene, Texas, back in 1996. It was late at night when Brian Bethel, a journalist, parked his car outside a movie theater in Abilene. He wasn't there to watch a film. Instead, he sat in the glow of the theater's neon lights, scribbling on a check to pay his internet bill. Everything was quiet, just the soft flicker of the marquee, the warm buzz of electricity, and the occasional rustle of wind through the trees. Brian was lost in his thoughts when he suddenly felt the presence of someone nearby. He looked up and saw two boys standing beside his car. At first glance, they seemed ordinary, maybe 9, 10, 12 years old at most. One wore a hoodie, the other a jacket. Their expressions were calm, almost rehearsed. One of them leaned forward and spoke.
"Sir, we forgot our money. We want to see the movie, but we need a ride back to our house to get it. Could you take us?"
Brian felt a strange chill. He couldn't explain why, but something about them felt off. Their voices were steady, polite, but behind the words, he felt an odd pressure. As if they weren't just asking, they were trying to persuade him. And for reasons he couldn't explain, Brian felt uneasy, very uneasy. Brian cracked his window just slightly, enough to hear them better. The boys repeated their request. They wanted a ride home. They wanted money for the movie. But their words didn't sound right. They kept insisting over and over. "It won't take long, mister. We're just kids. You can trust us." The way they spoke, it didn't feel like natural speech. It was too calm, too confident. Like a script they'd rehearsed 100 times before. Brian felt a weight pressing down on him. Every instinct screamed at him to say no. But at the same time, he felt the pull of their voices. One of the boys added, "We can't get in unless you let us. Just let us in." Those words chilled him to the bone. Why would children say something like that? And why did it sound less like a request and more like a rule? Brian's hand hovered over the door lock, and that's when it hit him. A sudden, overwhelming dread. The kind of fear that bypasses logic. The primal kind that comes from somewhere deep inside. His skin crawled, his stomach turned. Everything inside him screamed, "Don't let them in." And when he looked closer at their faces, he finally saw it. Their eyes were wrong. Not dark, not shadowed, but completely black. No iris, no whites, just endless pools of darkness staring back at him. He froze. His heart pounded in his chest. Every ounce of doubt was gone. These weren't children. At least, not anymore. Panic surged through him. Brian turned the key, the engine roared to life, and he slammed his foot on the accelerator. As he pulled away, he risked one last glance in the mirror. But the boys were gone. Not walking away, not fading into the distance,
simply gone. To this day, Brian Bethel swears every detail was true, and his account would become the story that spread across the internet, the first well-known encounter with the black-eyed children.
Years before Brian's story ever spread online, another encounter took place. This time, not in a parking lot, but inside the safety of a quiet home in Texas. A married couple sat together late at night, relaxing in their living room. The television flickered, casting soft light across the room. Everything felt calm, ordinary, until there was a knock at the door. The husband got up, curious who would be visiting at that hour. When he opened the door, he saw 2 children standing on the porch, a boy and a girl. They looked no older than 10. Both were dressed normally, but their presence in the middle of the night was unsettling. The children spoke in calm, measured voices. "We need to come inside. We need to use your phone and get a drink of water." Simple words, but their tone was strange. Like they weren't really asking, they were expecting. The wife moved closer to the door. Her first instinct was maternal. Children outside, alone, so late at night? Of course she wanted to help. But her husband hesitated. Something about the way they stood there, motionless, their voices too calm, it didn't feel right. He felt the same unnatural pressure Brian had described years later, that pull to comply, battling against every instinct to slam the door shut. Then, the children looked up. And the couple finally saw what was wrong. Their eyes, not tired, not shadowed, but completely black, every part of the eye swallowed by darkness. The wife gasped, her heart skipping. The husband froze in place, gripped by a fear he couldn't explain. Every sound seemed to drain from the world. Only those eyes remained. The husband acted quickly. He pulled his wife back and shut the door firmly, locking it in one motion. From the other side, silence. No footsteps, no whispers, no children running away. The couple held their breath, straining to hear anything. Minutes passed. Finally, the husband gathered the courage to peek through the window. The porch was empty. The children had vanished without a sound or a trace. The rest of the night was uneasy. The couple barely slept, certain they would hear another knock, but it never came. They never saw those children again, and they never found out who or what they really were. Years later, when stories of black-eyed children began to spread online, the couple realized their experience wasn't unique. Others had seen them too, always asking, always wanting in. Brian Bethel's story in 1996, the Texas couple in the quiet hours of the night, 2 encounters, 2 warnings. The black-eyed children are said to appear anywhere,
at your car, at your doorstep. Polite, calm, persistent. But if you ever hear a knock in the middle of the night and you see children waiting in the dark, whatever you do, don't let them in.